Welcome to the Truly Missed podcast. I'm Candace, and each week I will tell you about underreported missing people of color. Before we get started today, I would just like to give a brief warning that some details of this case do briefly touch on a homicide and domestic violence. Resources will be available at the end of the show if you are currently experiencing domestic violence. I won't go into much detail, but I would still like to offer a trigger warning in advance if you are sensitive to this subject. All people of color must be vigilant in reporting crimes and evidence to help bring back loved ones when it's possible and give closure when it isn't possible. According to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database, NamUs, which was funded by the U.S. Department of Justice, more than 600,000 people go missing annually. Nationwide, there are roughly 6.5 missing persons for every 100,000 people. In Michigan alone, there are at least 556 missing people as of today reported in NamUs. Today, we will discuss Kaylah Hunter and Kristian Justice from my hometown, Detroit, Michigan. Kaylah Hunter was born on November 8, 2007, and Kristian Justice was born on October 2, 2013, to Alicia Fox. Kaylah's father is named Kevin Hunter. Kristian's is named Aaron Justice. At the time of this incident, Kaylah was 6 and Kristian was 8 months old. Alicia, Kaylah, and Kristian were last seen by family on May 24, 2014 at a barbecue celebrating Memorial Day. Aaron and Alicia had only been married and living together for a short time. On and before May 27th, Aaron Justice rented a U-Haul and was seen by neighbors moving out of the family home, but Alicia, Kaylah, and Kristian were not present. Between May 27th and May 29th, he puts 300 miles on the truck without ever leaving the city of Detroit. He also sells Alicia's Chevy Impala to a junkyard. It is stripped by the time the police find it. After that, he takes a flight alone to Atlanta. On June 3rd, Kaylah's father, Kevin, receives a text message from Alicia's phone, but it is believed that she did not send this message. On June 6th, Kevin files a police report after the trio doesn't show up to Kaylah's kindergarten graduation from Bradford Academy in Southfield, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. Alicia was so excited that she got Kaylah a custom cap and gown made for a special day. After not hearing from the family for about 2 weeks and then them not showing up to the ceremony, the rest of the family confirmed that something just wasn't right. They had been looking for the mother and children since they hadn't heard from her after the barbecue. Alicia's aunt, Christine, went to look for her at her house. Her house was empty from what she could see through the windows. Her car wasn't in the driveway because unbeknownst to her, it had already been sold, the police later learned. Christine stated all she could see in the kitchen left was a bottle of bleach. The family then contacted the police and went in the house with them to search for any sign of where the three may have gone. The house had been emptied out. There was no furniture or any belongings. Later, all of Alicia's clothes and pictures of her children are found in a donation bin not far from her home. Tragically, Alicia is also found. She's found deceased and decomposing by her uncle in an abandoned home on Penrod Street. Her family received an anonymous tip of where she could be found, and they went to look for her before the police actually even made any attempts to find her. She was found under a blue tarp. The house she was found in is 3 doors down from Aaron Justice's cousin's house. The cause of death was 2 gunshot wounds to the head. It is also believed that she suffered some abuse before this. Later, in Alicia's home, a bullet hole and blood is found in the upstairs bedroom. Later, neighbors to the house where Alicia's body was found also saw that same U-Haul being driven by Aaron. An Amber Alert is never issued for Kaylah and Kristian. Allegedly, this case didn't meet the criteria for statewide notification. I don't see how, since there are literally 3 people missing, one of which is a child, the other is an infant. But I'll read to you the criteria for issuing an Amber Alert according to the Department of Justice. There has to be a reasonable belief by law enforcement that an abduction occurred. The law enforcement agency believes that the child is in imminent danger and serious bodily injury or death. There is enough descriptive information about the victim and the abduction for law enforcement to issue an Amber Alert to assist in the recovery of the child. The abduction of the child is aged 17 years or younger. The child's name and other critical data elements, including the child abduction flag, have been entered into the National Crime Information Center system. After Alicia is found deceased by the Detroit Police Department, immediately an Amber Alert should have been issued. Her children were last seen with her, and now she's no longer alive, and there is no sign of the children or any of their belongings. So at what point is this considered an emergency? At what point do you consider these two young children in imminent danger? The Department of Justice does also mention that the alerts are at the discretion of the agency is requested from. So this is definitely a Detroit Police Department fail. Even if the police thought that the children were deceased, is it not important to still bring them home and bring closure to the family? I want you to really think about how often you get an Amber Alert for a Black missing child on your phone. It's probably not that often. And then think about it. There's an infant missing. He probably couldn't even walk yet, or probably walk well if he could. So how is this not an emergency situation? Kaylah's father was involved in her life, and he also expressed his concern to the police, but still nothing. He's one of the actual parents of the children missing. How is his concern not valid enough for an Amber Alert? These are not runaways. These are babies. On June 11th, Aaron Justice is arrested in Atlanta on first-degree murder charges for Alicia Fox. On September 22nd, 2015, he pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 45 to 80 years in prison. His friend Timothy Jones is also arrested and charged with being an accessory after the fact. He helped move and hide Alicia's body from their home originally to the abandoned home. He only served 6 years and was released. Aaron showed no emotion in his trial, and he hardly spoke at all. And he's never revealed what he did with the children. The children are still believed to be alive. Only Alicia's belongings were ever recovered. The children's things have never been found. They may have been given away. They could have been sold into trafficking. They also could have just been left somewhere and maybe someone just took them in. Timothy Jones said that when he helped move Alicia's body from the family home, the children were still alive. Timothy never gives any further information, but I bet he knows more than what he told the police. But if he only got 6 years for being an accessory to a murder, why would he give any further information? He's done his time and now he's free. The family dog is later found wandering the streets on June 19th with strangulation marks around his neck, cigarette burns on his face and chest. He was cared for by animal services and then placed into a foster care. Police believe Alicia died sometime between May 24th after the barbecue and May 27th when the U-Haul is seen. Detroit can have its very violent moments, and unfortunately, a lot of people turn up in abandoned buildings, and sometimes it doesn't even make the news. Or if it does, it's only 10 seconds on the news segment. But a lot of times, nobody cares about impoverished families. I remember growing up in my neighborhood, police were not really called. We handled what we needed to handle on our own, unless we needed a police force. But there's a good chance they weren't coming. So often stories like this just don't get the attention they need. An Amber Alert could have assisted in finding those children. But truthfully, no one has ever been looking for them. It's hard to believe that anyone is even looking for them today, other than the family. Michigan was number 9 on the list for most reported missing persons cases. Just think about all the unreported cases, or all the unfiled cases that were reported that the police department just chose not to file. This past June, Kaylah's school, Bradford Academy, presented her aunt with an honorary 8th grade graduate certificate. Kaylah was 6 years old, 4'5", and about 65 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. She would be 15 today. Kristian was 8 months, 2 feet, and 17 pounds. He would be 9 today. They would still be children today. A $3,000 reward is being offered for tips leading to where the children may be. Anyone with information is being asked to call Detroit Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAKUP. You can also contact the Detroit Police Department at 313-596-2221. These poor babies were not even given an age progression photo. Very few sources outside of Detroit publications even have any additional information about this case. Eric had a violent history towards women, and sometimes you don't know your partner's history, and that could be dangerous. But never think that you can change them once you find out who they are. If they start hitting you, chances are they're not going to stop. Abuse is never okay. If you are experiencing domestic violence, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. It'll also be listed in the show notes. You can also text START to 88788 if you can't call. If you need to visit a website really quickly, you can go to hotline.org and find additional resources. A feature on this website to help keep you safe You can hit the red X in the corner and it'll delete it from your search history. So if you are in a situation where you only have a few seconds, I would suggest you use that feature, and then you can just exit out when you need to. I pray that you are all loved and that you stay safe. I pray that you know that you deserve a good life. I pray that you know that abusers do not love you and you do not have to stay. There are people out there that will love you and will care for you, even if it is some stranger on the other end of a hotline. It's better than being abused. Like I said earlier, it is believed that the children were just taken and left somewhere or given to someone to raise. They could be anywhere from Detroit to Atlanta. No age progression photos were available, like I said, so it's hard to say what they may even look like today. And they were so young, they may not have even understood what was happening. They may be in the care of someone that has raised them as their own, and they don't know any different. An 8-month-old baby is not going to know that he was abducted from his home. A 6-year-old child is still young enough that they may remember their past, but it's an impressionable age, and you can kind of shape the future for them at that age. So she may not have understood what was going on when she was taken. It's hard to say if the children were even kept together or if they were split up and given to separate people. If you have a loved one, I would suggest you reach out to places like the Charlie Project, the Doe Network, Crime Stoppers, and even the FBI after filing your initial police report. A lot of times, smaller police stations don't put the care, time, and effort that they need to into these missing persons cases, especially missing people of color. I've seen it time and time again, not just in my own city, but literally every city I've ever lived in. People of color incidents are just not taken seriously, and until we start taking our own community seriously, why would we expect other people to? I mean, let's just be honest. It's better if you call these places and waste their resources, air quotes, and find out that there isn't an emergency than to not have called at all and no one's looking for your loved one. So go above and beyond. You can follow us on Instagram at Truly Miss Podcast, or send us an email at trulymisspodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. I have a page, the Truly Miss Podcast page. If you could follow and rate us on Spotify, every rating gets us closer to a bigger audience. These stories definitely need to be heard. If you have a story that you would like to share, if you have any tips, or if you have any cases that you would like me to cover, you can please DM or email me. I only focus on people of color as these stories don't get as much coverage. Hopefully we can build this community one listener at a time. All sources are listed in the show notes. Please help this family and other family get one step closer to bringing their loved one home. Kaylah, Kristian, and definitely Alicia are truly missed.